Every single time you walk through an airport, you are being watched, evaluated, and in some cases, quietly flagged. Not because you did anything wrong, because airports are not what they appear to be. Stay with us through every secret on this list. Because the last one isn't about surveillance or security or hidden architecture. It's about something that happens to almost every passenger, on almost every flight, at almost every major airport in the world. Something that directly affects your health, your wallet, and in some documented cases, your legal rights as a traveler. The reason airports never tell you is so coldly commercial that when you hear the full explanation, you will never move through a terminal the same way again. We start now. Secret 1. The airport is already reading you before security. Here is something that has never appeared on any passenger information board anywhere in the world. Behavioral detection begins the moment you enter the terminal building. Not at the security checkpoint. Not at passport control. Not when your bags go through the X-ray machine. The moment you walk through the entrance doors. In major international airports, and in a growing number of regional hubs, trained behavioral detection officers operate in plain clothes throughout the public areas of the terminal. They are not wearing uniforms. They are not standing at podiums. They are sitting in coffee shops, moving slowly through departure halls, and watching. What they're watching for is a documented behavioral framework developed largely from Israeli airport security research, widely considered the most effective passenger screening methodology in the world. It focuses not on what you're carrying, but on how you're moving, how your eyes track the environment, whether your breathing matches your level of physical exertion, whether your behavior is consistent with someone whose itinerary actually makes sense. The checkpoint you approach with your boarding pass is not the first filter. It's the third or fourth. And by the time you reach it, a quiet preliminary assessment has already been formed, before you've said a single word to a single uniformed officer. Airports will never publish this, because the entire effectiveness of behavioral detection depends on passengers not knowing the specific behavioral signatures being monitored. You were never supposed to know this was happening. Secret 2. Your security lane assignment is not random. Think about the last time a TSA officer directed you to a specific security lane. You probably assumed it was about queue management, keeping lines moving efficiently. That assumption is partially correct and mostly incomplete. Your boarding pass, scanned at the checkpoint entrance, feeds into a risk-scoring algorithm that has been processing your travel data since the moment your ticket was purchased. Programs like Secure Flight in the United States and equivalent systems across the UK, EU, and Australia have already cross-referenced your name, date of birth, travel documents, purchase history, and itinerary characteristics against multiple watch lists and behavioral pattern databases. That risk score influences which lane you're directed to. The passenger who then receives what looks like a random enhanced screening, the extra swabs, the manual bag search, the extended document review, has almost certainly triggered a specific threshold in that system. Not a coin flip. A data-driven decision made before they even joined the queue. Airports don't explain this for two reasons. It invites legal challenges from passengers who feel wrongly profiled. And it gives the adversarial traveler, the one the system is designed to catch, information that helps them manipulate their inputs. The randomness you perceive is carefully managed, and the data driving it has been accumulating long before you packed your bag. Secret 3. The architecture is designed to disorient you, on purpose. Why are airports so genuinely difficult to navigate? The standard answer, airports are complex, large-scale facilities, doesn't hold up under examination. Shopping malls are large. Train stations are complex. Both manage to move millions of people through them with far less directional confusion than the average international terminal. Airport disorientation is not a design failure. It is a design feature. When passengers are mildly disoriented, uncertain of their exact position, slightly unsure of how much time they have, unable to clearly see their gate from their current location, they slow down. They stop. And critically, they spend. The deliberate removal of natural light in most terminal interiors eliminates the passenger's most intuitive timekeeping mechanism. Without sunlight, without visible sky, without the natural cues that tell the human brain what time of day it is and how long it's been standing somewhere, time perception distorts. Passengers consistently overestimate how much time they have before boarding. They make purchasing decisions they wouldn't make if they could see a clock and a window simultaneously. The placement of retail and food concessions is not incidental to the terminal layout. It is the terminal layout. Passengers are architecturally guided past specific commercial destinations on every route between check-in and gate. The path from security to your departure gate in almost every major airport has been engineered to maximize commercial exposure, not to get you to your gate by the shortest possible route. The carpet design in many large airports, bold, directional, visually stimulating patterns, has been studied for its effect on passenger walking pace. Certain patterns slow foot traffic in commercial zones. Others accelerate it near gates to reduce congestion. You are moving through an environment that has been engineered, tested, and refined specifically to influence your behavior at every step. And none of that engineering appears on the terminal map they hand you at the information desk. Secret 4. Gate agents know far more than they're allowed to tell you. The gate agent smiling at the departure podium knows things about your flight that would change your morning completely. They know whether your aircraft has a maintenance flag that engineering is currently evaluating. They know whether the inbound flight that becomes your outbound aircraft left its origin city late, and by exactly how many minutes. They know the current load factor, whether the flight is oversold, and which passengers are already flagged for involuntary rebooking if needed. What they are often not permitted to tell you, by airline policy rather than by ignorance, is the full picture. Airlines manage passenger information disclosure with extraordinary care. The reason is partly psychological. A terminal full of passengers who know their flight is likely delayed by 90 minutes becomes a terminal full of people making alternative arrangements, requesting meal vouchers, demanding supervisor conversations, and generating service costs. A terminal full of passengers who believe the departure is merely slightly delayed, stays calm, stays seated, and stays in the commercial zone spending money. The announcement that says, "We're expecting a short delay," may be technically accurate while being strategically incomplete. Here's what experienced travelers know that casual passengers don't. The gate agent, approached privately and respectfully, is often far more forthcoming than the public announcement system suggests they're permitted to be. Not always. Not in every airline culture. But often enough that the quiet, polite, one-on-one conversation at the podium between announcements produces materially better information than the speaker system ever will. They know. The policy determines what they say publicly. What they say quietly, to the right person asking the right way, is a different conversation entirely. Secret 5. The lounge you think you can't access. You probably can. Airport lounges have a psychological barrier built entirely out of assumption. The assumption is that access requires elite frequent flyer status, a premium cabin ticket, or a specific high-end credit card. And that assumption keeps the majority of the traveling public from ever questioning it, which is exactly what the lounges and airlines prefer. The reality in 2026 is considerably more accessible than most passengers realize. Day passes for major lounge networks are purchasable at the door in most international terminals, at prices that, when measured against the cost of a meal, 2 drinks, reliable fast Wi-Fi, a quiet seat, and a functioning power outlet in the main terminal, represent straightforward value rather than luxury spending. Credit cards at mid-tier annual fee levels, cards that tens of millions of people already carry for other benefits, include lounge access as a standard feature that a significant percentage of cardholders have never activated because they assumed it didn't apply to them or didn't know it existed. Third-party apps aggregate real-time lounge availability and day pass pricing across networks, allowing any passenger with a few minutes and a smartphone to identify accessible options within their current terminal. The barrier is not financial for a large proportion of travelers. The barrier is informational. And airports have no particular incentive to correct that information gap, because the passenger who believes the lounge is inaccessible spends their 3-hour layover in the terminal concessions instead. The door that looks closed is often just unlabeled. Secret 6. The air inside the terminal is making you sick, and it's not an accident. The air inside an airport terminal is among the most biologically complex air you will breathe in any public environment. This is not speculation. It is documented in environmental health research, in HVAC engineering studies, and in the internal air quality assessments that major airports commission regularly and share with almost nobody. Terminal buildings recirculate air through systems designed primarily for temperature control and energy efficiency, not for pathogen filtration or humidity management at levels that support human respiratory health. The result is an indoor environment with humidity levels consistently far below what the human immune system functions optimally within. Respiratory mucous membranes, your first line of biological defense against airborne pathogens, require ambient humidity above 30% to function effectively. Major terminal environments frequently operate well below that threshold for extended periods. Simultaneously, the passenger density in terminal concourses creates pathogen concentrations that outdoor environments or well-ventilated buildings simply don't replicate. You are breathing recycled air that has passed through hundreds of respiratory systems from dozens of different geographic origin points, carrying pathogen varieties that your immune system has had no prior exposure to. The specific combination, compromised mucosal defense from low humidity, high pathogen density from recycled air and passenger concentration, is precisely why a significant proportion of frequent travelers report respiratory illness following heavy travel weeks, even when they take standard hygiene precautions. The solution is not architecturally complex. Higher grade HEPA filtration, increased fresh air exchange rates, and active humidity management systems exist, are commercially available, and have been implemented in hospital and pharmaceutical facility HVAC systems for decades. They are not standard in airport terminals. Because retrofitting existing HVAC infrastructure is expensive, and because no regulatory framework currently compels airports to meet the air quality standards that would necessitate that investment. So the air stays as it is. The research sits in internal reports, and millions of passengers move through terminals every day, breathing an environment that has been studied, characterized, and left unchanged, because the cost of changing it falls on the airport, and the cost of not changing it falls on you. 6 layers of the airport experience that exist entirely outside anything they put on the departure board. Surveillance that starts before you reach security. Algorithms scoring your risk before you open your mouth. Architecture built to slow you down and open your wallet. Gate agents who know more than they're cleared to say. Lounge doors that aren't as closed as they look. And air that the building's own research confirms is compromising your health, for reasons that are entirely financial. None of this makes airports evil. It makes them exactly what they are. Extraordinarily complex commercial and security environments, operating with priorities that don't always align with yours. But knowing the priorities changes how you move through the space. You walk in differently when you know what's actually happening around you. If this opened your eyes to something real, hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who deserve to know what's actually going on the next time they fly. Subscribe for more content that tells you what the signs on the wall never will. Safe travels.